Hey everybody, welcome back to Tim Travels. It's Terry, your host. So I'm here in New Bedford, Massachusetts. Massachusetts, of course, is the Bay State. Um, and when I came down here, I came through Providence, and Providence is just a beautiful city. It's the home of Brown University, which is an Ivy League school, and Providence College. But it's just a nice. It looks like I never really spent any time there. I never had any reason to travel there for business or whatever. But man, it's just a handsome town, and New Bedford's pretty lovely. It's New Bedford has a long maritime history. Like where I am right now, I can see fishing boats and stuff. I'm right on the water, picking up, I don't know what I'm picking up, some kind of seafood. Since from the smell of the place. But and this the the street this warehouse is on is Herman Melville Place, or Herman Melville Avenue, and yeah. So here's a picture of Herman Melville. And if you don't know who Herman Melville is, you probably at least know what he's famous for, and that is he was an author, novelist, born and died in New York City, but traveled the world. His family kind of fell on misfortune, and he went out to sea and worked on whaling ships and other kinds of ships, and sometimes didn't like, if he got to a place he liked, he just stayed, um, and wrote about it. And he wrote Moby Dick, is probably his most famous novel, although he really didn't get a lot of traction in his lifetime on the work he did. He also wrote Billy Budd's Sailor, which is kind of a novella, but yeah, so street's named after him, and so it just shows kind of his impact on whaling, maritime things. And there's a big whaling museum here. It's a national historical site here in New Bedford. So and they also have a really cool fire museum here, kind of interactive. Like you can bring your kids and they can like wear turnout gear and or bunker gear, whatever you want to call it. We called it turnout gear. Slide down the fire pole and stuff like that. So if you're in New Bedford, it's a lovely little town here in the southern part of Massachusetts. So having said all that, sometimes people don't know what people from a certain location are called. So like for instance, if you're from New York, you're a New Yorker, or if you're from Pennsylvania, you're a Pennsylvanian. So up here, people from Maine are Mainers. People from Rhode Island are, of course, Rhode Islanders. And people from Massachusetts are Massholes. And I got to meet several Massholes here at this facility. And I probably won't be coming back, even though it's a lovely area. It's just it's just how I roll. So I'm backed into a door. They haven't started loading me yet. I have zero expectations for high level of service, but it comes with the territory. So anyway, that's where I am today. It's chilly and windy, but bright and sunny, so it's been a lovely drive. And by the way, I made the drive at like 57 miles an hour because I had time to get down here and get here on time. And I wanted to talk about prime speed and stuff like that. Driver Lineup talked about it the other day, and kind of from the perspective of that it's not worth bringing up at the DAB because there are a number of considerations. And I thought, and by the way, if you haven't watched it, you should, because he really outlined a lot of stuff that are the considerations for, kind of the technical aspects of it. And he also talked about prime safety record and stuff like that. But one of the things that, and of course there were a bunch of people who made comments that were just like totally non-factual, just pulling crap out of their butts about speeds and stuff like that. So I thought I'd talk about that for a little bit and also kind of talk about it from a legal perspective. So one of the comments that was made was, oh, well, there was this prime driver and he was going down the road in, a high speed limit area. And I'll call a high speed limit area anything over 65. So anything that has a posted speed limit in excess of 65. And, he was slowing everything up and he was totally oblivious to it. And, it was so bad that somebody got in a wreck behind him because they couldn't slow down in time because he was going so slow. And this is prime drivers causing accidents because they drive too slow. Okay, so first of all, there's a lot to unpack there, but let me just say this, right? Let me just say this. As a threshold requirement, right? In order to be in doing things lawfully, your speed has to be above the minimum speed and at or below the posted speed limit for you to be driving legally, among other things. When you exceed the posted speed limit, even by 1 mile per hour, it's illegal. I think everybody knows that, right? And there's no law against driving under the posted speed limit as long as you're above the minimum speed. And let me say this, a lot of places where the speed limits are quite high, like in Idaho where the speed limit in some places is 80, they actually don't have a minimum speed. And I know that because I was out there one time in my Sprinter and I was actually trying to get the van as far as I could down the road because I knew I was going to break down and I was just trying to limit how far I was going to have to get towed. And I was driving on the shoulder actually with my four-ways on because I was going quite slow. I was going like 40 miles an hour. And I don't want to say I got pulled over. I got stopped by an Idaho state trooper. And he was like, oh, you can't drive on the shoulder. And I said, okay, well, I'm having mechanical problems. And I said, he's like, well, then you should just pull off the highway. I said, well, you don't have a minimum speed, do you? He's like, well, no. I said, so I could go, I was trying not to impede traffic, but, I'm happy to drive 40 on the road. And the truth of the matter is, he couldn't do anything about it, right? He was right that I can't drive on the shoulder, but he couldn't do anything about the fact that if I was going down the road at 20 miles an hour, tough, because they don't have a minimum speed. But if they did, I would have to be at or above the minimum speed. So that's kind of the threshold issue. But let's talk about truck speeds, etc., and people being backed up behind you and stuff. Okay, so one of the first things that I kind of know is that it doesn't matter how fast somebody's going in a car, truck, whatever, somebody else is going to drive faster. It's just a thing, right? Like you could be going 100 miles an hour in your truck and you look in your mirror and some super trucker's coming past you at 102. I don't care how fast anybody goes, there's going to be somebody going faster. I clocked a guy the other day on the other night on I-75. He was doing 128. But guess what? The other night I was going around the Beltway in Baltimore, and not to be outdone, a dude went by me and I clocked him and he was at 135. 135. That, by the way, that's a 55 zone, the entire The entire beltway around Baltimore is a 55 zone. Um, so there's always somebody going faster. That's the first thing. So since I'm not a race car driver, or since I'm not racing trucks, how fast I go is not really going to matter, because someone's always going to try to pass me. It doesn't matter how fast I'm going. I used to drive a truck that I could run 70 in when I was at GP Transco. I could run 70 part of the day, basically, because they had Pass Smart. Normal speed was 67. I got passed all the time when I was going 70, you know? So it didn't really, I was passing other trucks, of course, other cars sometimes, but it didn't matter how fast I went. Somebody was going to pass me. In the truck I have right here, I will run this truck, like say on I-80 in Pennsylvania, or you know, I'll run this truck up to 74 miles an hour. If I hit 75, then I get my overspeed warning. But I'll run this truck at 74, and I guarantee, which by the way is above the posted speed limit. The posted speed limit on I-80, and generally speaking, is 70 in Pennsylvania. I run this truck up to 74. Some guy will be blowing by me at 78. Of course, he'll get to the bottom, and you know, next thing I know, I'll smell brakes, but that's another story. So my point about this is that it doesn't matter how fast I go. Somebody's going to think I'm not going fast enough, and that's going to manifest itself by them passing me. So that's the first thing, is to understand there's no speed that's high enough that somebody isn't going to want to pass you anyway. And if they want to pass you, they're always going to be pissed if they got to wait, even for a second. You know, I've had situations where I was passing somebody. And when I say passing, I don't mean like IROC Z racing, where I'm barely getting by them. I mean, I was actually proceeding, you know, quite fast past them. People are flashing their headlights, right? And I was going the posted speed limit. So somebody was pissed that I was doing the maximum legal speed limit and passing somebody. That wasn't good enough for them. They still had to flash their headlights at me, okay? Which doesn't really get a great reaction out of me. So those are some of the dynamics. But let's talk about my business for a second. If you don't like how fast I drive, then please get my Venmo information, my PayPal information, and start sending me money for fuel. Okay? And this isn't just now. This has always been the case. If you don't like how fast I'm going, and because I drove over here at like 57. I had my cruise set at 57. Now, sometimes I was going 66 because I was just rolling down a hill, coasting. But and a lot of it was, you know, some of these interstates up here in the Northeast they're at 55 anyway. So I was exceeding the posted speed limit by 2 miles an hour. But if you don't like how fast I'm going, then buy me fuel. That will get me to, if you want to put 100 gallons in my truck, I'll freaking go balls to the walls. I'll be up against the governor, man. I'll do everything I can to drive fast for you. But let me say this, when I'm just driving and minding my own business, right? Go around me. Okay? Your problem isn't that I'm going slow. Your problem is that you can't go as fast as you want to when you want to. But that's a you problem. That's not a me problem. Because there's always going to be somebody going slower, and you're always going to be unhappy. And the Prime haters and the people that want, you know, it's like, oh, Prime is responsible for accidents. Man, that's a load of bullshit, and you know it. It's like you have this idea, and so you'll use any bullshit justification to support your position. But that's not tenable. It's not the law, and it's just plain false. So stop lying. Why don't you just be honest and say, you know what, I like driving like a bat out of hell. I like getting 4.5 miles to the gallon in my truck. And I like doing that because people pay me extra to get where I'm going. Oh wait, that actually doesn't happen. Yeah, so it turns out that shippers, receivers, brokers, they don't pay you extra for driving like a maniac. You just do it because, I don't know, it makes you feel good. It makes you feel like, you know, your stones are bigger and you're tougher or whatever. I don't really know. I mean, it really is juvenile. I mean, you know, a friend of mine years ago said a sign of maturity is understanding that the accelerator moves in 2 directions. So here's the deal. When you see me going down the highway and I'm going, let's say, under the posted speed limit because either the speed limit is higher than I could possibly drive, or just because I'm not in that much of a hurry and I'm conserving fuel that I pay for, you know, don't bother to flash your lights or blow your horn. I mean, you could do it, but you should understand, I really don't give a fuck what you think. I don't care if there's 150 vehicles backed up behind me. Because guess what? There's going to be another 150 in the left lane. Now, I'm not going to get in your way, but, you know, I'm also not going to bend over backwards to make sure that you get to the place you needed to be at 4 p.m. at 3 p.m. or that you slept for 12 hours on a 10-hour break and now you got to drive like 75 to make up for the fact that you couldn't drag your ass out of bed. None of those are my problems. So if you don't like how fast I drive, your best option would be choose roads I'm not on. Now, how will you know that? Well, you won't. It's just shitty luck that you have, that you get stuck behind me. But guess what? I do this for a living just like you, or maybe not. Maybe you're just a fake trucker and you want to comment on truckers' YouTubes. But I do this for a living. And guess what? I got, where's my bag of stuff? Oh, here it is. Here it is. This is some prime swag. I got the Prime Time certified cap. By the way, I've gotten caps before. I got not one, but 2 of these Prime Time certified, very lovely micro material tri-mountain performance polo shirts. Why? Because I get my loads delivered on time. That's why. I was just doing my job, right? I show up for work on time and do what I'm supposed to do. And bam, Prime gave me a bunch of t-shirts. And guess what? Or not t-shirts, polo shirts and a hat. I got this hat driving like 57 miles an hour in a 65. That must really chap your ass. And guess what? I'm going to get more of these hats because I'm going to keep delivering shit on time because that's what I get paid to do. And I'm going to do what I can to save fuel. Now, sometimes I'm going to be going as fast as I can because things are tight, right? Some loads are tighter than others. This one I'm picking up right now, not tight. I don't have to go very far, and I got till tomorrow morning at 11 to be there. So guess what? If you're driving on I-95 through Massachusetts, Rhode Island, Connecticut, across the Cross Bronx Expressway, if you're driving 287, I-78, I'm going to be at 57. I'll be at 57 and 55s probably because I'm too lazy to just constantly adjust. But just know, if you see Prime up ahead, just get in the left lane because I'm going to be there. And if there's a backup behind me, I don't know what to tell you, man. It won't bother me one little bit. I do know they're there. I just don't care. I just don't care, because you're not buying my fuel. And you're not, my license is my license. My truck is my truck. I don't tell you how to drive yours. Don't tell me how to drive mine. So if any of this has bothered you, please like and subscribe. Also, if any of this, what I said, has bothered you, then get a life. You know, I don't know, get a dog so you can mellow out. It's not a big deal. That 2 or 3 seconds it takes to wait to go around the prime truck should not be the end of your life. If that is really just jacking up your world, then you got bigger problems than just prime drivers. And I appreciate all my subscribers. Like I said, if you don't like what you're hearing here, subscribe. By the way, I picked up that line from Sammy the Bull Gravano. He's kind of funny if you watch his videos. But anyway, so check out Driver Lineup. He's had some interesting conversations that relate to what was going on with the DAB and stuff like that. But anyway, I'm just going to be out here conserving fuel, driving this thing like it's a Toyota Prius, and yeah, just trying to make a buck. So thanks for tuning in. Good talking to you, and I'll catch you next time. Bye.